Greetings to you all and welcome to Wonder Boy in Monster World. It's a descriptive title of a game that's been revolutionized by a new randomizer. This is one of those typical adventure, platformy, RPG-esque games that I believe the kids call a Metroidvania, where there are items scattered all throughout the world, and you have to go on an adventure, find them. Acquiring some items gives you new powers or access to areas where you'll find other items, so on and so forth. This continues until the end of the game. Now, this being a randomizer, I don't know where anything is, and therefore I don't know the best way to progress through the game. However, me being me, I'm a filthy, dirty little cheat, and so I shall do the following. I shall watch the demo. Now, the demo will play, as it always does. However, when the demo goes into this shop, all of its contents will be different, thanks to the randomizer. Normally this item would be, I don't even know, but the important point is it wouldn't cost 87 gold, so the demo would happily buy it. Instead, it's marine boots that cost 100 gold, the demo gets confused, and it gives up. Fantastic, that's what we're here for. Any way we can break the game is good. But enough mocking the demo and cheating to find out where certain items are located. Let's get started on the game real. The introductory lore dump is instead replaced with a bit of self-promotion, meaning that we have no idea where we're supposed to go, but that's alright, we've played these games before. Our first point of call is this reclusive elder who lives in a tree stump far away from civilization. She kindly gives us 2 items to help on our quest, and we get 2 absolute pieces of junk. Now, due to this being a randomizer, we could have received absolutely anything from the Elder. That includes the Legend Sword. Now, if you're not familiar with this game, you might not know, but the Legend Sword is a sword of legend. It is the best weapon in the game, and we could have had it right out the gate. But we did not get that. Instead, we got the Sun Key, which is a key, and is therefore used to open a door. Probably very useful, but currently inadequate. And we also got Pygmy Armor, which is a very small suit of armor for a very small person. I'm not small, so that is completely useless to me, as it stands. These grumpy looking guards refuse to let us into the castle for reasons I can't quite remember, so instead we opt to take the scenic route. Armed with basically nothing, I set about the fantasy game staple of murdering crabs in the early phase of the game in order to farm a bit of gold. I know I need some gold, because I cheated earlier and saw that the ocarina, an item I know I will need, is for sale in one of the shops. Thanks to the assistance of an entire family of oddly compliant jellyfish, I managed to make it across, and rather than consider how anyone else is supposed to make it to this town, I head for the shop where I know my ocarina lay in wait. I can't help but peruse what else this shoe shop seems to have in stock, and we find the Oasis boots, a mandatory item for the completion of the game, and also gives us access to a place where the Sun Key is used. It's all coming together. Except for the fact that I'm completely broke, but we'll remember this for later. We have a few more randomized items in this town to check. You lost your trident in the cave, okay, a curious weapon for a fairy, but who am I to judge? And that is Quake Magic, which costs 200, I believe? Indeed. And is incredibly powerful and not usually available in a shop. So we praise the randomizer, because that will be carrying us through most of the game once we can get it. Now, although the careless woman did manage to lose her trident, we do know exactly where it is. I'm not sure if that actually counts as being lost, considering we know where it is, but that's neither here nor there. We have obtained the trident. I was going to say one of the most powerful weapons in the game, but I suppose it's actually not, it's just one of the most useful. But now it is the ocarina's time to shine. Try again. Beautiful. We press onwards and... ooh, that is a lot of gold to find in the first chest of the game. We shall look forward to spending that. If you're wondering what the random cacophony is every time I step on one of those platforms and get up my ocarina, That does sound lovely. When you have the ocarina out, if you press the buttons A, B, C, you play different notes. There's only 3 notes. You have to play the correct pattern in order to get through the door. How that mechanism works, I have no idea. How a mushroom, of all things, managed to install such a mechanism, I have even less idea. What do you mean, a mushroom? Don't you mean many mushrooms? No. A mushroom. A fearsome boss indeed. Fantastic fight. He drops a lamp, which inverts all the colours on my screen. Don't blame the game for this. Blame Dethwing, who made the randomizer. No. A little explanation is in order, I suppose. There's nothing else in this room. I'm going to take you on a tour for it for no apparent reason. The lamp usually exists in a room of darkness. So once you collect the lamp, it makes the room brighter. That's just what it's coded to do. Thanks to our randomizer, you can collect the lamp anywhere. And whenever you collect it, it makes the room brighter, even if the room was plenty bright to begin with. Now, I have more money than I know what to do with, and so I'm going to do the only logical thing, and I'm going to buy Quake. Incredibly powerful magic. How does magic work? You get charges. You sleep at the inn in order to get your charges back. I can now cast Quake 3 times. Very powerful magic that I can cast 3 times in the very early stages of the game. And being able to do that means that I'll be able to get through most of the enemies that come in my way. Because with 9 casts of Quake, it seems unlikely that anything is going to pose a threat. Because if it can survive 12 castings of Quake, then I'm not beating it anyway. We take a brief moment to pick up the Oasis boots we mentioned before that will be useful later on before throwing ourselves headfirst into the sewers that are now open because we have killed a mushroom. It's a strange game. So this is the first major choice that you have to make whenever you're playing a randomizer. It's do you go down here? Now, anyone who's new to the game might be thinking this looks suspicious, I might go and check this out. Oh, there's water, that's frightening. Wait, the water is... well, it's about 6 foot deep. It's actually deeper than I gave it credit for, but it's not that deep. And you would go all the way down there and you'd find some particularly tough enemies, tough as in durable, not difficult. And then you would find one chest, which in a normal game would heal you, and then you would be stuck. So let's not get stuck. It's a nasty trick, but it's a game about exploring. And sometimes your exploration leads you to a door for which you do not have the key. No, it's not the sun key. But here is a genuine question we have to answer. Given that we are playing a randomizer, we have an option available to us. This puddle. Now, I can go down here. Demonstrate slime. You're supposed to hop down here. It would have been beautiful, poetic even. So I can go down here, and I can swim. And if I do, I will go into the ocean. I will call it the ocean. I don't know what its technical name is, but that's okay. I don't know why the ocean is below the sewers, but again, there's some logic there, I suppose. So I can go down into the ocean. But normally, I can't do that. Normally, I don't have the trident. Why would holding a spear-shaped weapon in your hand make any difference? I don't know. Shion, that's my guy, he's a bit odd. He doesn't know how to sink. He's unnaturally buoyant. But if he's holding a trident, like a stone, no resistance. That was quite the leap. This is one of the main plot points of the game. Oh, that was a mini-boss, by the way. It usually takes us about 6 hits. We got a trident, we're alright. And this is one of the major plot points of the game, and one of the major items for progression in the game is the trident. You can't do anything underwater or anything that requires you to go through water without the trident. So, in effect, the trident teaches you how to swim, but you could still paddle on top of the water without the trident, so technically we can swim anyway. In fact, we swim too well, that's the problem. I'm gonna talk to this woman. Fantastic. You may be wondering why I'm doing that. Well, there was a door down here that I ignored, because I know that it's locked. I have spoken to a random woman, and now that door is unlocked. To be fair, that woman isn't random, she is a maid to the royal family that's up there. I'm skipping a lot of plot here. I would go back up and show you the plot. Let's show you the plot. We walk past a bunch of handmaids. And we speak to this fine-looking lady, whose name I genuinely did not know. But her surname is the same as the city, so she's probably important. She gives us a clue on where we should head next, which we promptly ignore because we're playing a randomizer and items aren't where they usually would be. Instead, we're going to leverage our trident a bit more and go underwater. But first, a visit to town. What do you have, old man, and what do you have to say for yourself? I've never spoken to this man before in my life, but he had interesting things to say. You're confident in your leather boots, are you, my good man? Unfortunately, I have boots which are leagues above yours. I shall leave you be. There was also an elixir in there which I'll need later, but not yet. There's a weapon shop here. There's also a weapon shop over here. You can imagine the amount of competition between these two establishments and wonder why they didn't open slightly further apart from one another. You'd also wonder why this weapon shop is absolutely ginormous. But who knows? Yes, this man looks very similar. Now this is a man who knows how to stock some boots. It seems strange that so far all I've done in this game is amass an entire arsenal of magical powers and then a shoe collection, but trust me, it's good. In the lower half of town there is yet another shop whose inventory we take stock of. So Charmstone costs 3001 gold, that's a strange amount, don't question it. Might be did you just wink at me? Go on then, you handsome devil. Honestly, I'm tempted here. I quite like the plates you have in the background. Very nice, very fetching. But I think I'm going to take this boxing glove. Now, it's in a circle, that means it's magic. And that means I can do this. Are we learning yet? That'll do though, just a couple. Power is an interesting spell. Rather than doing anything directly on the screen, and I'm aware of the fact I've not even shown you Quake yet, I'll endeavour to do that. But rather than doing anything directly to the screen, it buffs me. It makes my attacks deal double damage, which is very good when you already have a weapon like the trident that is about 3 times as strong as what you're supposed to have right now. We're going to take a quick detour now through the castle gates that were once closed, past the guards who were once angry, and into a shop that we looked at momentarily but didn't buy anything from because we were too poor. This has a return magic. Return is a magic that warps you back to the previous inn you visited. It's not necessary, not by any means, and getting more than one of it is irrelevant because it takes you to an inn. I can just sleep at the inn I arrive at to get my magic back. I don't even think the game lets you have more than one in stock of it. But it's a useful magic for either getting out of danger or just saving time. There's a lot of backtracking in this game. It's an adventure game, it's a Metroidvania, there's going to be backtracking. Okay, here's a chest that was hidden away through a secret passage that I went to like it was nothing with no explanation. That's right, I expect you to be really clued up when you watch this video. That's a Charmstone. Is it normally a Charmstone? No. But for us, that's a Charmstone. Charmstone's an interesting item. It's an item in the original game that is only found in a few very specific areas, or bought for a very large amount of money. And generally it's supposed to be a sort of reward for finding difficult to solve secrets. They're kind of fitting that the Charmstone was where it just was, because that was quite a difficult secret, unlike this one, which was obviously very easy to see. I would say that's sufficiently rewarding. Traditionally, the Charmstones are hidden away, and if you manage to find them, you get an extra heart and some magic. A wider range of magic, one of every magic. This is a randomizer, so if we get the 2 Charmstones in this, we get some items. What they are, no one knows. I promised you Earthquake, behold. Yes, that's animation, okay? The screen shook slightly. Getting a lot of hearts, which I don't mind. It's going to be useful later on. This game gets difficult, believe it or not. Another chest that I just happen to know exactly where it is. And of course, that's the only thing that's in here. Because it would be absolutely ridiculous to put yet another secret here with an invisible hidden door. How are you supposed to know these are here? I don't know. It's an odd collection of coins. As it stands, we have a few different possibilities on how we can progress. This is where the game being a randomizer really comes into play, because there are different things I can do. Number one, I can take my sinking stick, and I can sink in the water to the right that we looked at earlier. Option number two, I can equip my Oasis boots. These are shoes that are filled with water. Bear with me. They are filled with water, and that means you can walk on hot sand without getting hurt, or you can drink them when you're crossing the desert to not die of thirst. I'm not sure mechanically what is supposed to be happening when you wear these boots, but the point is you can go over the desert without dying. It's a fantasy game. It's okay. So we can go into the desert. And the desert is looking good because the desert will lead to a locked door that requires a sun key to open. Remember that? Yes, you do. However, we have one charm stone, and this overly friendly man is selling a charm stone. So there's only one thing to do. Purchase the charm stone for 3001 gold. Thank you very much. I now have 2 charm stones, and it's time to hand them in. Now, where would you hand in 2 charm stones? Items that you're supposed to solve secrets in order to obtain them? Well, that's right, you obviously need to go to the hidden shop. It's an adventure game, okay? There's puzzles, they hide stuff everywhere. Just... You're raising your eyebrows at why is everyone so flirtatious? You, Charmstone Man. He's a descriptive chap. Now in the base game, this would give me magic. I think 5 magics. That sounds right. But in the randomizer, I get 5 random items. So let's see what Charmstone Guy has for us today. He doesn't have a name, okay? He's Charmstone Guy. Thunder is a piece of magic. Night Shield is a shield. I feel like I don't need to explain this. Legend boots are the legendary boots, and hard armor is hard armor, and chainmail is chainmail. Did that description help anyone in any way, shape, or form? So the 2 armors I got are worse than the armor I already have. That's kind of useless. I didn't get a weapon, I didn't get a shield, and even if I did, I can't use a shield whilst I'm one-handed holding a trident. Yeah, I don't know why my other hand has to be free. I guess when I stab with it, I use 2 hands. Boots, however, they're legend boots. These are the best boots in the game. You may be noticing a theme with the word legend, but having legend boots is great. As the best boots in the game, they are the fastest. Look at me now, I'm zooming around. You can probably judge how fast I'm travelling by comparing me to the speed of a child. I'm faster than him, that's good. Also, more impressively, the legend boots let me do this. I climb ladders at I think double speed, it's fast, whatever it is. Now that I have the best boots in the game, obviously I'm going to be wearing these boots for the entire game, right? No, because the legend boots, despite their legendary status, do not have a small well of water inside them. I therefore require Oasis boots. If I were to try and wear the legendary boots of legend, I would start vibrating. Behold the following obstacle. This. I'm explaining, please, leave me be. This is a quicksand pit. If you go down in the middle here, in this little gap, you will actually fall underneath the sands into a whole new area. That area is a trap of sorts that's quite difficult to escape from, and you have to climb your way back up to the top in order to get out. Now, luckily for me, I have the return magic, so I could just magic myself out of there if I went in there, but we are aware of the trap and we shall avoid it. There's also a reward if you feel like going into that trap, because why wouldn't you reward the player for falling into a trap? Located in the middle of the desert is a well, which makes sense. It's good to have a water supply in the middle of the desert. However, the well is poorly maintained, and it's far too far away from the town to be serviceable for anyone. And genuinely, I've no idea who built this thing or for what reason, but somebody built the pyramid. There's a pyramid over here. So, previous civilizations, I suppose. Let's go. Firestorm, that's a magic. I suppose it would be nice of me to demonstrate the new magics we've received. Behold. That does have an animation, but 2 frames of it, but it's got an animation. Observe. Wonderful. Now, if you're thinking that Firestorm is going to be similarly impressive when it comes to the animations, or you got another thing coming. Now then, welcome. The Pyramid. The pyramid has 3 doors. This one indicated by an ankh. This one... I tried to do something fancy. Didn't work. This one indicated by an ankh. And the final 3rd door, which is marked by an ankh. They are running out of ideas for what represents Egypt, okay? I can go in the middle one because I have the Sun Key. That was a poor demonstration of my items. The Sun Key. There are 2 similarly named keys, which are needed for the other 2 doors. Hopefully we'll find one of those keys in here. If we don't, we'll be coming back. Now that I am inside the pyramid, it is fortunately rather cool, which means I can use the legend boots once more. I'm not going to criticize that because I imagine it actually would be fairly cool inside of a pyramid. And so that might be accurate. Who designed this pyramid? In order to navigate it, you have to scale a rope to the top, then weave your way back down, whilst avoiding arrow-flinging traps and fully powered, eternally powered, perpetual motion conveyor belts. I don't know what is fueling these, but they're better than anything we have in modern times. So congratulations. Also, my health is very low. The solution for this is to use more magic. If you've learned anything from this game by now, is that if you see a chest and it's out of range, and you think this looks suspicious, like maybe if I was a smaller man I could crawl under here. Perhaps some kind of pygmy wearing pygmy armor. I could get in there and then maybe I could get that chest. Well, you'd be completely wrong as a hidden door. Another 5 random items, and those random items happen to be particularly useful for progressing the game. I know what they do, but you might not, so let's have a quick moment to talk about it. We got a moon key, which will open one of the other doors outside. The one on the right, I think. And we got the bracelet, which is needed to open another door. Kind of. Sort of a door. That I mentioned a long time ago. We'll be going there shortly, if we don't die to this. I am terrified. My health is so low that I think I'm going to run away. Because dying would be rather embarrassing. After having bravely retreated and then taking a quick nap in order to restore my magic, it's time to decide where to go next. And one of the items I received was the amulet. I'm not sure why I didn't mention the amulet last time I opened this menu, but I got it. The amulet is used to get into the water temple, which is something I should have already done. But I haven't, because this is a randomizer. So let's go do it now. Possibly. Surprisingly enough, the water temple is located in what I refer to as the ocean. However, I forgot about the whole I can only swim fast with marine boots thing, because even the legendary boots do not know how to swim fast. Although they probably could have walked quite fast along the bottom. More than the fast swimming, I need the incredible jumping power of the marine boots. This isn't the last time I'm going to need the incredible jumping power of the marine boots, let me tell you. While swimming through the ocean, I find my way into yet another hidden chest, although this one isn't behind an invisible door. This one's actually quite reasonable to find. You just swim through this underwater wooden maze that someone built. That was a lot of items, and I need to take a moment to process exactly what I got, but I can't change my weapon when I'm underwater, because how on earth would a human being possibly be underwater without holding the trident? That's just madness. Also, I skipped something that is important for story. Behold, this is... I don't know her name. She doesn't have a name. So this woman, you give your ocarina to in exchange for a hint as to where to find the amulet. I already have the amulet, so I have no idea, genuinely, I have no idea what she's going to say. She just wants to take my ocarina off me anyway, despite the fact that I already have the amulet. She's a bit of a con artist, isn't she? Very well. Behold, a puzzle. There's a door hidden amongst 4 palm trees. Now, you should be used to seeing hidden doors by now in this game, but this hidden door, you are actually told about. It's a wild new concept that they will not be revisiting. So enjoy it while it lasts. Before we do that though, quick check of the weapons. What did we get from that chest? We got the pygmy sword, which would be good if I was small. We have the pygmy armor, which would be good if I was small. I can't even see what shields I've got. We got the pygmy shield, which would be good if I was small. And we do not have pygmy boots. Why am I checking if I've got 4 pygmy items? Never you mind. As far as items go though, we got a fire urn, which was somehow kept alight in a submerged chest. Greek fire, maybe? No new revelations as far as the items go. You can see the items page is getting quite full though, so we're making good progress here. Maybe the next item we need is in here. It's not, but I'll take it. An elixir is a very useful item. Unlike a... By the way, this is the 4 palm trees. I didn't know if that's apparent or not, but... This is the hidden door you're supposed to know about. I know it's strange that the sky is a door, but... It's as reasonable as we're getting in this game. But an elixir is an interesting potion. By the way, welcome to the... Poseidon Temple. Water Temple. Don't know its name. You're only granted entry into this place if you have an amulet. What do I mean by granted access? Well, this place just isn't here if you don't have an amulet. It just looks like a cliff. And you might be thinking that doesn't make any sense. But you're damn right. But back to the elixir. So, the elixir is a potion that activates automatically. If you die, your health gets reduced to all the way to 0, then the elixir will automatically be consumed in order to bring you back from death. So it's a potion, but it's an automatic potion, which is very good because you can only have one type of potion at a time. There are different strengths of potion. There's medicine potion, high potion. There's a few different ones, super potion. You can only have one potion, but you can have a potion and an elixir, so it's a good backup, it's a good second potion, and it's automatic, so if you get hit by something you weren't expecting, it can save your life even if you weren't prepared with a potion on hand. Very good item. Now you may be noticing that I'm using Thunder against the underwater enemies and not Quake. That's because Quake can only hit enemies that are grounded. Observe! Genuinely did not think I would get a chance to demonstrate that underwater. But thank you, whatever you are. We once again come face to face with a chest that we can't access because there is a fan obstructing us. If we could mash fast enough, perhaps we could get through there, but we can't. So we need to somehow deactivate that fan. Now you might be thinking that if there's a chest we can't access, it must be a hidden door, and there's this area here that serves absolutely no purpose, but you'd be wrong. There is absolutely no purpose to this area, it's just here. That's it. That's the end of that story. Instead we have to swim our way around. And we have to ask someone else to disable that fan for us. Now, I did call this place Poseidon's Temple, so you might be able to guess who. But we gotta get there first, and in order to meet with Poseidon himself, we must defeat the big fish. Here he is, he's kind of a mini-boss. He's dead. Poseidon, my good man. He's a stone statue as well. I don't know if he's supposed to be an actual god and alive, or if he's inhabiting a statue. I don't know what's going on, alright? All I know is he tells us where to go next. He lies to us. Just Sphinx does not increase our power, he just gives us access to the next area. But more importantly, he turns off a fan. Without telling us he's doing that. He knows what he's doing, and he knows we need the item that the fan is protecting in order to proceed. But he doesn't tell us what he's doing, nor does he tell us where he is doing it. He makes no sense. He is devoid of logic, but fortunately we played this game before, and we know that the fan he's turned off is this one. And our reward for doing this entire massive underwater dungeon is some magic we already had. We have choices as to where we can go next, as always. We can go to Lilypad, the place that we were supposed to go ages ago, or we can explore an endgame area. Knowing that I would finally be dry for a short while, I put away my trident of sinking, took a quick dip in the water, just to test I wouldn't sink, and set off for the pathway that we skipped a long time ago. Lilypad can wait. So our next port of call then is to go beneath the sewers. Now we're going through this door. Someone's clearly installed this door, which means that humanity has been down here. There's also bricks in the background. But what is this place? I assume it's a natural cave system that's been shored up by human hands. Evidence that this is influenced by humanity would be these bricks, which have clearly been placed here with purpose. Probably acting as a sort of foundation to keep the entire sewers from collapsing and caving in. So we'll get rid of those, for they are obstructing my forward momentum. We lament this poor monster that was trapped in a cage of brick, quite sadistic, honestly, of the townsfolk to surround the monsters like this. I would question how they're still alive, but they're clearly undead. So I guess they can endure this kind of torment. And the death I'm giving them now is somewhat of a reprieve. Anyway, the structural integrity of the area has been well and truly collapsed. Grab a few more items. And onwards, into the next fantasy cliché, an ice world. Unfortunately, we can't go into the ice world because of this ginormous block of ice that's in our way. Now, this block of ice also happens to have a doorway-shaped area in the front of it, which is rather convenient, but it is covered in ice. The question I pose to you is, how do you deal with ice that obstructs your path? And if you're thinking, magic, we got a fire spell, didn't we? That's right, we got something called Firestorm. That must do it, right? Well, you'd be completely wrong. We picked up a bracelet a while ago, so obviously, the only way to solve this problem is to breathe fire from the bracelet. I don't know, it doesn't make sense. Also, my bracelet is now gone. But the real question is, what lay beyond? Well, this is an ice world, so there is only one logical thing that could possibly exist here. Penguins. Now, penguins are a rather fearsome foe, for a couple of reasons. Number one, they have a lot of health. Number two, they jump at you quite erratically. Number three, they can slide at you in order to come at you with great speed. But number four, it's so hard to kill them with their adorable little bow ties. Please demonstrate. Look at him, he's so dapper. Out of the way. There's also ghosts, and they also have bow ties. Smaller bow ties though, so they're not as important as the penguins. The game really wants to ram home this idea of slaughtering the penguins, because this is one of the longest stretches of just screens of enemies in between areas. It really makes you kill a lot of penguins. Also, there's a castle in the background. That's ominous. It appears to be floating on the clouds. Wait a second, am I above the clouds? But I went down. Let's not worry about that. But after 5 screens of penguin slaughter, and ghosts, we arrive here, Childom. It's a town that has been built into a glacier, I suppose. But who lives here? Human beings, just regular humans. I don't know why they live here, I don't know how they got here. They can't travel between here and the rest of the world. They're completely isolated by that one block of ice. But, you know, there's nothing stopping them from living here. It's a perfectly nice place. They have flame shields, they're pretty good. I'll be taking that. Then we decide to check out the second shop. Not much in here. Mysterious Gap, which is probably an item we already have. My guess would be an elixir. As I said before, you can only have one elixir, so that one actually doesn't show up repeatedly in the shop. And the shopkeeper himself is a rather interesting chap, because when I'm looking at him, he goes to sleep, and when I look away from him, he flips me off. What a nice guy. We go in here, we talk to this woman, and she gives us Chabot. And this is something we haven't really explored very much, because we did have a little fairy that followed us around for a while and didn't do much of anything. But we've skipped the second companion. He was in Lilypad that we've never been to. So behold, the third companion. Chabot is the Grim Reaper, and inflicts death upon opponents. Observe. Chabot. Penguin, kill. Kill. Chabot, kill. Fantastic! So what Chabot does is randomly, when Chabot feels like it, which is not often, Chabot will throw out a scythe at a nearby enemy, dealing a pitiful amount of damage, and provoking the enemy to react by jumping wildly, which does more harm than good. We descend into Ice Castle, which may be the castle that was above the clouds in the background, or it might not be, because, spoilers, there's another castle later on. Ooh. Isn't that ominous? Ice Castle has slippery ground. As is tradition in any platformer, there must be an ice world that is an absolute pain to maneuver in. Now, I'm not sure who owns Ice Castle. I mean, I do know because I played the game before. We will later find out who owns Ice Castle, but whoever it is has installed these. Instead of stairs, they navigate to the higher floors of Ice Castle using what I assume is a magnetic elevator. That's some advanced tech considering we're in medieval times. Ascending to the top of the tower, we go into this, the right room, which contains another random item for our enjoyment. What do we get? We get something for killing this guy and something in the chest. 2 for 1, bit of magic, bit of money. But that's not enough. Oh no, this place has a mini-boss, and those have been fantastic throughout the game so far. Now I want you to imagine what this mini-boss could be. Teddy bear. You could argue it's not a teddy bear. That is actually a fearsome beast. You could also argue that it's a mouse because of its comical ears. I don't know what it's supposed to be. But it's dead now, so don't worry about it. That was a mini-boss. That was challenging. Please, pretend it was challenging. Quick detour into the left room. It's a very symmetrical castle, it's nice. Props to whoever designed this place. That kill was very stylishly made without me touching the directional pad in any way, shape or form. I just let momentum carry me. The strategic placement of one enemy sees me knocked down and have to repeat a portion of the castle. And then my own failings cause me to miss a jump on the return trip and get knocked down even further. After an arduous reclimb, we end back at the door we passed by earlier. And this leads us into the next mini-boss. That's right, this place is somewhat of a boss gauntlet. You thought the last one was good, well this time they ran out in the art budget, so they just took one of their regular enemies and scaled it up a bit. That is the most useful thing I've ever seen you do in my life, Shabo. I am proud of you for this moment. I have never been proud of you before, and looks like lightning is gonna strike twice. Well done. Honestly, you're making my life more difficult because I can't predict when the enemy's going to get knocked back, but that was pretty good. I enjoyed that. That is a rather unimpressive reward for such a difficult fight. As was that. But if you thought platforming was difficult on ice in this big open area, then behold, I have a surprise for you. Platforms. And if you think jumping on icy 2-tile-wide platforms is tough, behold. 1-tile-wide platforms. Allegedly, you can just run between them, it's fine. But you do have to jump on some of these. Honestly, it's not that bad, but you'll probably fall. And if you fall, you don't die, you just go back to the previous screen, have to climb back up, and depending on where you fall, that's either a 5 seconds up a ladder job, or that's 10 minutes killing a whole screen of enemies job. Inserting both the blue and the gold gems that we've acquired over the course of the game lets us have access to this, the main central elevator. Technology has no limits in this place. Leads us down this ominous Mega Man looking place, which, as you can probably guess, means a boss is coming. Since we're in the ice castle, you might think I need to bust out the fire magic, and I don't, but I will, for style. And I'm going to bring out the power, that's the double attack damage. It's been a while since we fought a boss. Have at you. The Ice Bomber. Let's take a minute to appreciate exactly what we're looking at here. This is a snowman. A Native American snowman. With rubber gloves for hands. And this is the boss and presumably the owner of this castle. So this is the technological genius who has installed the magnetic lifts. Now let's look at his face. I'm seeing somewhat of a clash in design and theology. Nevertheless, we slay him. Interesting quirk here. It is possible to kill him so far to the right of the screen that this chest drops not off screen but too far to the right so that I can't stand in the middle of it and open it. Hilarious when it happens. Also soft locks your game but makes you have to restart. So, not something we're going for today. I decide to treat myself to a battle spear because I'm the richest man known to mankind right now. Unfortunately, this means I don't get to use my shield, which is incredibly powerful defensive shield. It's the second best shield in the game, after, surprisingly, Legend Shield. But I can't use it now because I'm using a spear. Fortunately for me, I'm going to what would normally be considered the second dungeon of the game, and is therefore incredibly easy. Welcome to the swamp, where I will endeavour to skip every single enemy and every single platform. The swamp damages you minorly as you pass through it, and you are supposed to go over these platforms above you in order to avoid the damage. Normally you'd have 4 hearts at this point in the game, and so the damage would really stack up. However, I have more hearts than I care to count, and I have a lot of armour, a lot of good equipment, and I don't play these games. I will just trudge my way through the swamp. That incredibly difficult period over, we end up in Lilypad. This is a place that is full of dwarves. That's right, dwarves, little people, people that would wear small pieces of armour, small swords would be used, small shields in their hands. You might therefore think that this is where I'm going to become small, or I'm going to equip someone who is small with all of my pygmy equipment. But you'd be completely wrong, pygmies and dwarves are not the same thing. It is very offensive to believe they are. Next we head into this, a random shopkeeper in the middle of a dwarf town who happens to have the legendary Shield of Legend. Just sitting on a table. He charges me a hefty price for it, but honestly it's a good deal for my part. So I acquire the best shield. And the pygmy boots. Pygmy boots being the final pygmy item that I need. Kind of fitting that it would be here in the dwarf village, but dwarves are not pygmies, I take that back, not fitting in the slightest. Instead we're going to stay a night in the inn. The bed is small, which makes sense and does not make sense at the same time. Firstly, small bed for the dwarves, makes sense. Secondly, small bed, I'm going to sleep in it, doesn't make sense. Thirdly, why are you so big? I don't know why the innkeeper is massive compared to the rest of the people. I can only assume that it's someone from the main town of Purapril who moved down here to open an inn as a business venture. In which case, congratulations. You don't have many customers. I think there's only about 4 people that live in this entire village. And 2 of them are shopkeepers. There's also a man in here. You can talk to him if you like. Excuse me? What? Okay. Some context. I've never spoken to this man before in my life. I know what you have to do is go to the left because it's the only way out of this town that isn't the way you came from. And when you go over there, you find a boy that's been kidnapped. This guy tells you the boy's been kidnapped, but I had always assumed he would ask you to get the boy back. Instead, he just tells me to sod off. But alright, I'm gonna help him just to spite him. And so, we do the only thing that makes sense, and we start killing all of the native tribesmen. One massacre later, and we end up here. And we find out that my widespread murder was in fact completely justified because they are endangering a dwarf child? I'm not really sure what's going on here. They've cooking him? There's a lot of skeletons around, so yes, I think they're cooking him. Maybe these people are cannibals. Okay, I've decided they're cannibals and therefore they must die. But not all of them, just 3 of them. I'll let those 2 go. One quick cast of return later, back to the inn, followed by a brief nap in a shoebox, and we are good to go. Having saved the dwarf child, yes, he's a child, can't you tell? What do you mean you can't tell? That's offensive. I speak not to him, but to his sister. His sister says, you know what, you can have him. And now he's mine. He is the second companion that we did not have before. He has 1 power. He can punch walls, but only very few specified walls. We are now going into these old, abandoned, ancient ruins, where it's pitch black and you can't see anything. Except I got a lamp a long time ago, so I can already see. Normally, you can't go down here, because you can't climb down a ladder when it's dark and you can't see. That's just basic health and safety. I could already go down there, but instead I'm going to go in here first anyway. It's a bat. That's a mini-boss. You know how mini-bosses go in this game. Good fight. That is a strange item for you to have, Mr. Bat. But you know what? I'll take it. Still missing the legend armor, but other than that, I'm damn well equipped. So naturally, we go through this abandoned ruin that's also full of traps, because arrow traps seem to be the flavour of the day in this world. And we find out that the place is filled with skeletons. Which, I guess, can just be people that were trapped in here or died to the traps and then starved to death. That's a bit dark and a bit grim. But there we have it. This chap's guarding a chest with a big sack of cash in it. There's money everywhere. Very kind of you. He can do that, by the way. He finds coins every now and again. The game hits you with a nasty trap here, or maybe it's a helpful shortcut, I'm not sure. It's up for interpretation. It gives you a door, you go in the door, and it's an exit door. You can leave. Now, I don't think this is supposed to be a trap. I think this is supposed to be an option if you've taken too much damage and you need to go and heal, but it's there. I fall down into the next area with more arrow traps. This time my shield gets to actually do something vaguely defensive. It's not often you see that. And I choose to ignore the obvious path of progression and go in the complete wrong direction. Because there's a secret there. Of course there is. So, there is an area here that we can't get into. And if you paid attention, you know what that means. I don't know how you're supposed to realise that, but if you just jump around down here, then you find it. So it's actually kind of reasonable. Hotter shows the way. The reward was not worth the adventure. Also now this wall section is completely different, so I don't know why. It seems about time that we go and face the second boss of the game. We're fairly well equipped for it, and we are faced with this. The 4-switch puzzle. You have to press these 4 switches in the correct order in order to proceed. If you fail, well, I'll show you what happens if you fail. Oh yes, also we've got more falling blocks in between, that's why there are these giant pits. I guess that wasn't apparent, but now you know. If you fail, you just get to redo the previous screen. Good stuff. How are you supposed to know the order? That is a question I ask you. Is it just trial and error? Well, kind of. So, there are flames in these torches up above, you see? And now, there are no longer torches. What a curious thing. But what if I step on switch number 2? Success. The flame grows brighter. So it is trial and error, but there is a way to help you see the order. Let's pretend I did a lot of trial and error and got there in the end. Fantastic. And then when you hit the 4th, the final chute opens, the solid chute, and you are granted access to a boss. We must be prepared for this boss. He is terrifying. Can you tell the sarcasm in my voice? Grag and Glag. An interesting boss that I'm going to take a minute to appreciate. So Grag and Glag are 2 heads, made of stone. They shoot little pebbles at you whilst rolling massive boulders at you. Where did the pebbles come from? I think the nose. Why? I don't know. From a gameplay point of view, it's to stop me just standing on this platform forever and doing nothing. From a physiological point of view, I don't know why the stone heads are sneezing rocks at me. So after I admire this boss, it is of course time to kill. Turn on power magic. And there he goes, a fantastic fight. It's not enough just to kill one of them, you gotta kill them both. Now when you fight the boss normally, this is what happens and you get to fight 2 rocks. However, a few different things can happen. 1, if you kill a head whilst his boulder is already out, then you can make the following occur. Now that boulder will be permanently trapped on the right, because it has no mouth into which to descend. This probably makes the fight more difficult, but it doesn't make that much difference. Far more interesting, however, is this. If you kill one of the heads on the same frame that it's due to spawn the rock, you can permanently despawn the rock, therefore meaning the rest of the boss fight occurs with only 1 rock for you to evade, and that makes this incredibly difficult fight so much easier. With the boss defeated, we get our reward and we could leave the dungeon. And we shall leave the dungeon. I was going to cast return magic, but unfortunately I can't cast return magic while I'm still under the effects of power. Now that we've killed this boss, we can take a moment to appreciate exactly what we have and what we need. Honestly, I didn't need to do Dragon Glag, but I thought I'd show it off to you guys, because I know you like to watch stuff. Especially boss fights. Please note that we're not going to see everything in the game, because as I'm taking stock, I've noticed something. I'm good to go. You see, in order to complete this game, you only need a handful of items. You need the fire urn, you need the legend sword, and you need access to a place we've not been to yet. We have all of those things, and so, victory is available. These trees are flirting. Next logical course of action then is to go to the place we have not been to. Unfortunately, I know the way. Do you remember a while ago we talked about the different entrances into the pyramid and how we only had one of them that we didn't even complete? Well, fortunately now, we have the remaining keys that we need to open the other 2 doors. And one of them is exactly where we need to go, and the other one is completely pointless at this point in the game. But I'm going to open it anyway, because there is a chance it's useful. As far as equipment goes, whilst not necessary, I have pretty good equipment except for my body armor, which is the second best body armor in the game. I would like the best body armor in the game because it's better than the second best body armor in the game. There's a chance that the best body armor in the game, the legend armor, is behind door number 3. So we shall investigate. Not quite. Now there are still quite a number of places we've not been to, and any of them could hide the legend armor, but alas, we do not need the legend armor, so for now we shall progress. Scaling the closed off section of the pyramid takes us all the way up to this teleporter that teleports us to a mountain. Now you might be thinking that it's a teleporter, it's obviously sent us far and wide across the entire world, right? Well, that's a nice fantastical mind you've got there. But I'm afraid that's not quite how teleporters work in this world. Teleporters are short distance tools. And as a matter of fact, the mountain we've been sent to is literally just the top of the desert. Also, secret. It's of absolutely no use to me, but it's a secret. Wasn't that enjoyable? Wait. Secret. On our journey, these random imps will try to obstruct us by throwing spears at us, dancing in a jovial fashion, and rolling boulders towards us. I don't know where they get the boulders from, nor how they manage to push them, but they're rather effective. Ish. And I also don't know why these things are trying to stop us. But we slaughter them all, so it's alright, we don't need to worry about it. Why understand that which we can kill? One quick jaunt later and we make it to the top of the mountain into the magical world of Begonia, land of the dragons. This is a fantasy land which only can be reached by anyone who has a key in order to the left door of the pyramid, which admittedly is a fairly rare artifact, but also anyone who has a ladder and puts it at the edge of the desert. So, not that incredible, but as a city, it appears to be a castle. Was this the castle in the background from earlier? I don't know. Probably not. But it could have been. Anyway, this is the Dragon City, which means we get dragon shopkeepers. And I notice that this one has armor. I'm eyeing it up. I cross my fingers. You, good sir, are a welcome chap. Yes, I did. With this I am now fully equipped, and I know there is no point in me exploring any part of the game other than the main quest line, which is perhaps a little disappointing for you because it means you don't get to see me do this. But is nevertheless great news for me. So what are we doing here in Dragon Town? Well, we've got a blacksmith. He's not important. What is important, however, is the Dragon Elder. He sits in here. Now, Dragon Elder has an important job. He gives you missions, tasks to do. His first task is he gives you the bracelet that lets you go into the ice world, but we did that without him, so he's impressed that we've already been there. He thinks we got our hands on the old axe. That's what you get for beating the ice bomber. We don't have an old axe. We've never seen an old axe in our life. But he doesn't know that. Instead, he just sends us to go and talk to the blacksmith and gives us his son. Possibly her son, I'm not sure. Got eyelashes, probably female. That's how it worked back in the day. Why giving me an, as of then, unborn child to assist me in combat? That does not seem like a great plan, but we roll with it. So welcome, this is a dragon, I don't know his name. He is the fourth companion, he is very useful. I'll show you where he's used in a moment. We talk to the blacksmith tells us he can create a hard shield, split over 2 lines. It's an artifact of the randomizer, okay? It's fine, ignore it. And he can do that using the fire urn that we picked up elsewhere. We go back to the Dragon Elder to say, good news, the blacksmith can make us a hard shield. And the Dragon Elder says, I no longer care about the blacksmith, he is irrelevant to me. Instead, let's go and beat the big bad. The Elder Dragon has taught me something valuable. The Legend Sword is a key that lets us ascend at the bell tower. I did not know this information. I mean, I personally did, but Shion did not know this information. And without being told this, Shion cannot ascend. It's just programmed into the game. Until you've had that chat with the Dragon Elder, you can't ascend. Quick demonstration to show you where the dragon would be useful. He's a small chap. I can become a small chap. There's a small door. Connect the dots. But we're not going to bother with any of that. Instead, we are going to head back to the bell tower at Pur April. Which means we're going to use this door that would normally be here to take me back, but isn't here because I did things out of order and it confused the game, so instead I'm going to walk back the long way. One advantage of this is you get to see how incredibly powerful Random Dragon is. I still don't know his name. Go, my pretty, get him! He has 1 kill to his name, that's the best that I've ever seen him do. I could have chosen to take the teleporter back into the pyramid and climb down the rope, but I fear like that would be too sensible, too logical, and too fast. Instead, I wanted an excuse to throw myself off this cliff once again. Doing so immediately makes my dragon... Wait, he stays with me? Wow, I did not know this. I tried to take my newfound pet back into town, but unfortunately the town guard are having absolutely none of it. Some nonsense about being a fire hazard, and so I have to abandon this several-minute-old newborn baby dragon. I leave him to face the wilds of the desert by himself. Now, if you've played adventure games from this era, you may be able to guess where this is going. But generally speaking, there's only a few locations you can go to in a game. You can go to a forest, a water temple, a volcano, maybe an ice world. This is all pretty standard. But once you've touched the basic elements of earth, fire, and water, there's only one place left to go, and that is up. Up! Into the clouds, into the skies! Yes, there's an electric field here, don't worry about that. Up into the clouds we go. But welcome to Dark Castle. Finally, we have enemies that are genuine enemies. They are evil, they are opponents, they are goofy as all hell, but they are not very nice people, and we shall kill them all. Honestly, they're just following orders, but that's no excuse not around these parts. The mini-boss Bat is from earlier, he's back for round 2. Goes pretty similarly to round 1. And now the final evil boss starts to throw his greatest enemies at us, this gormless-looking baby demon gargoyle thing. It stares blankly at the player in order to try and disturb you, and as you approach it, it suddenly springs into life. He's a sneaky chap, alright. He drops a hell of a lot of gold when you kill him, though. He's a sneaky chap who tries to catch you off guard, so there's only one thing for that. He takes too many hits, we jump over them and we ignore them. This whole area that I'm travelling through is a maze, and I happen to know the correct solution, but if you go wrong, it ends up looping back on itself. It's a trial and error kind of situation, but there's not that many paths, so even trial and error, you'll find the right solution after a couple of goes. It's not that bad. Even the most evil of dictators needs a little bit of light recreational activity from time to time, so he's built himself this little minecart track. He's also populated it with ghosts, I'm not sure why. Or how. This is just here for a good time. He put some springs in the track to liven things up. And everybody's happy after that. And here, a genuinely devious puzzle. A door. That when you enter, is an exit door. And now this door makes you think, this is just like in the second dungeon, right? It's one of these doors where I can go and I can restock and replenish myself if I'm feeling a bit injured. No, this is a trick. This door is the only way to proceed. And if I take the exit door, it boots me out the castle. It takes me to the exit. It does very much as it says. The solution? You have to go back in. And it puts you up here. Now that is an intentional puzzle. And it's not a good one. We go through an obnoxiously long sequence of doors. It's only actually 2, but it didn't need to be 2, it could have just been 1. And is therefore designated as obnoxiously long. A couple of mini-bosses come to face me and I poke their feet into oblivion. Playing them creates a chain. I don't know. And then we get to fight another mini-boss immediately after it. So that's right, we're in the endgame now. We get bum-rushed by a dragon of sorts, who doesn't get off a single attack before dying. Now, behold, the real mini-boss. Platforming. This is a sequence of platforms, where every time you're on a platform, the next platform moves somewhere else. Without having done this before, it's almost impossible to know where the next jump is going to be, and you are left with this rather obnoxious jump to this snake platform here. It's doable, but it's quite obnoxious. You can make things easier for yourself in 2 different ways. Oh, also every time you fall down, you have to refight this mini-boss, inverted commas around him. You can make this easier in one of 2 different ways. First of all, you can kill the snake in advance. Use something long-ranged, like Thunder or Firestorm. That will do the job. And then the descending jump becomes a lot easier. There is another way to make things easier in this room, however. And that is switching to the marine boots. Why on earth would switching to the swimming boots help? Well, you see, this is a incredibly logical game that makes absolutely perfect sense. And the swimming boots have the highest jump height of all of the boots, even better than the legend boots. If we're gonna be generous, let's say the legend boots are too heavy, the marine boots are very light, which lets you jump higher. I'm being kind, okay? But the marine boots, whilst not being the fastest on land, do have the highest jump height, and it is just enough to jump to this rope, which lets you skip the whole second section of the platforms. It's wonderful stuff, it's a great skip, and you just know I'm going to go back and do the second section of the platforms for you anyway, so I don't know why I bothered doing it, but I know a thing or two about curiosity, and you're not going to let it go if I don't show you the full platform experience. So here's your intended solution. You're supposed to ride this platform down, either make a tight jump or have killed the snake in advance, so that you can begin skipping on platforms like this. As I said before, I know exactly where the next platform is going to appear, so it's fine for me, but for anyone else, it is a bit of a nightmare. And this sequence leads you to here. Go left to go right. It doesn't look that bad when I do it like that, but trust me, it's that bad. It's worse than it looks, I swear. Right, I just equipped power, you know what that means? Big, bad, behind door. Behold, the ultimate evil. The almighty Demon King. He is a beaver. And you may be thinking he doesn't have any ears. Hold your horses. This is not his final form. So he's a very tough enemy because he has a lot of wide variety of attacks. Don't actually hit me when I'm mocking you in a sarcastic manner. And you knock his head off. But when you do this, he grows a second head, and his original head becomes not a beaver, but a bunny rabbit, I suppose? I guess. And as any good rabbit does, he begins to spew fire out of his neck. There is a lot going on in this fight that is probably better not to think about. We've given it far too much thought, let's just kill him. But hold your horses. Because he has a third phase, it's a three-eyed rhino? I have no idea what we're fighting anymore, okay? But this guy is almighty, that's for damn sure. A perfect double kill, but thanks to my elixir I pull through, and the almighty Demon King has been felled. He reverts to a human-ish Prince of Darkness. And at long last we get plot. Actual plot. You see, the Prince of Dark World was not actually evil. He was being controlled by something called Biomecha, a deadly creature from outer space. But he's alright now, and he's very thankful towards us for coming to his aid. And then he just leaves. No explanation. There's only one door left on the screen, so I guess you don't have to think very much about where to go. And this barricade has gone. For some reason, I don't know why. You logically deduce that that's where you must go, but before that, we're going to need to go and restock some potions. This being a randomizer, it's difficult to know where the potions are, and so I end up going on a large journey of entering every single shop across the land, hoping to find a potion and an elixir. I bid the princess farewell. He tries to damn the entire world, I guess. I mean, Biomecha isn't doing anything anymore at this point. The only thing he was controlling is no longer under his control, but we're gonna kill it anyway. So we ignore her requests, and we set off. Same lift as found in Ice Castle. Biomecha must be on the same technological level as a snowman. It's a strange game. Biomecha shows us the true power of a teleporter, as this one is a long-range teleporter. Rather than teleporting me 2 screens to the right, this one teleports me all the way into space, which would actually kill me, so fortunately enough it teleports me into Biomecha's own spaceship. Music kicks up a gear, and we are presented with 4 different paths to which we can follow. We start by going further to the right and then up. It doesn't make any sense logically, but just bear with me. At the end of a corridor lay a door, and inside that door lay the Myconid. That's right, we've entered a boss gauntlet. We get to refight the Myconids. That was good, that was entertaining. Some would say that fight is rather pointless, however I would say that fight is pretty entertaining. It's a good symbol of how far you've come. You remember how difficult that fight was at the beginning of the game, and now you can just one-shot the thing. I think it doesn't really hold up in a randomizer, but it's quite evocative of your journey, the power you've achieved. The bosses that once caused you so much difficulty, now mere inconveniences. I'm doing the bosses in the intended order, not the order that we fought them. So they should be increasing in difficulty. Next up, Ice Bomber. Now, Ice Bomber is the king of bugs, of course. We said before that you can soft lock the game if you kill him too far on the right. Well, not to be outdone. During his dramatic refight, he comes with a brand new bug. When you kill him, the door immediately appears. Hold on a second. The door appears immediately, and you can enter the door before he is fully finished despawning and disappearing out of this world. If you do that, the game does not detect that Ice Bomber has been defeated. That means you can go back in and kill him again. There's no practical use to this. You might be thinking you could use it to farm money, but that's not particularly useful either, because he doesn't drop that much money compared to the enemies in Dark Castle anyway. But no, you have to wait the full duration until he is completely despawned before you leave. Now, there is a 4th boss in a 4th dungeon that we never went into that we did mention about before, the Volcano boss. This means even though we skip the volcano, you will get to see the boss, so that's quite nice. Before we go in there, let's take a minute to appreciate these cyborg octopuses. As an enemy, they're not that exciting, but there is something rather notable about them, that when they die, the true alien inside them is revealed for a moment, and he waves the white flag. Adorable stuff. I appreciate that, alright, genuinely. By the way, Volcano Boss, the Tyrant Dragon, look at him, he is fearsome. He looks suspiciously similar to that thing that was in Dark Castle, doesn't he? Don't worry about that. Yeah, it turns out he wasn't that fearsome. That fight is a lot harder the first time you do it, because you'll be a pygmy, which means your arms reach about 1 foot in front of you, and not 2 foot? Shion never had particularly long arms. With the 4 refight bosses defeated, we make our ascent up this central ladder to the final door, Biomecha's chamber. Upon entering Biomecha's chamber, we are faced with a kind of cutscene. We still have full control over our character, but there's nothing we can do. We can try and hit Biomecha, but nothing works, and Biomecha just shoots us. All the way until we have about a half a heart, 3/4 of a heart, somewhere around there. At which point, in comes Demon Prince, ready to pay us back for all the help we've given him. He mocks us, he says we are weak, and he shows us what a true hero can do. Not too bad, eh? He sacrifices his life in order to destroy a gun. His only method of attack is charging headfirst at it. Why he doesn't transform into his triple form demon almighty beast fire raining rabbit head, I don't know. This is what he comes up with. And then somehow we get fully healed, maybe from Demon King with his dying breath. Oh yeah, he's dying. He's dead. He's gone. Poor guy. And then the fight with Biomecha begins. Before we begin the fight, for real though, I just want to share something else with you. What if you'd had a particularly difficult time in the refights? Somehow. Well, you might go into the final battle injured, and remember, you're going to be forced to watch a cutscene of Biomecha shooting you while you struggle helplessly against him. So what happens if I only have a quarter of a heart remaining and I can't take any damage without dying? Well, the following happens. Let's go Biomecha! Back to the real fight then. Biomecha is a large biomechanical, I guess that's why it's called Biomecha, squid, psychic, alien type monster thing. He's doesn't do very much, he can't move in any way, shape or form, and he just sits there. As he sits there, he sends these to face me. These things shoot laser beams. This is all they do. Remember when I said this game was going to get difficult? It still will, trust me. But this is it. This is all that happens. You can kill this thing as well, it's fine. If it ever comes down, please. Well, this is rather embarrassing. There we go. And if you kill it, another one spawns. They spawn infinitely. Now that Biomecha doesn't have a gun, he's of course vulnerable to damage. No, I don't know why that's the case, but that's how it works. I like to use lightning to kill the little lasers, otherwise they become problematic. Anyway, break Biomecha's outer casing, and the following happens. He reveals his true form. This is his second and final form. He also activates a conveyor belt beneath your feet and a buzzsaw. And now the game finally has difficulty. This is insanely difficult to control. Get too close to Biomecha and you take damage by touching him. Get bounced around and pinballed by the laser beams constantly. The buzzsaw will hit you constantly. The conveyor belt is frantically changing direction as it pleases. All the while you have very little in the way of defences. The elixir we've already used and this potion. That's it. I'm now out. I'm using power to double my attack damage because none of my magic works against Biomecha. I have to hit him in the eye with a sword. It's my only out. And this fight is genuinely difficult. To the point that I am never confident I can win it. One quick run through the refights later and I'm back here, ready for round 2. This time, more direct with purpose, and with a fancy strategy to avoid taking the initial hit. I'm going to slash him from slightly further away. I don't know if it was luck or judgment, but this time we managed to obtain victory. Killing Biomecha immediately teleports me out of his spaceship. I don't know why, I don't know how, I don't know where I end up. The boss music doesn't end, there's no victory fanfare, it just keeps playing, and the credits, they roll. There you have it. That was Wonder Boy in Monster World. It's a wonderful game. It's a great example of 90s video games, the whole 16-bit era. The sprite work's fantastic, the music is pretty damn good, the story is there. But overall, the most important thing, the gameplay is just great. The game feels amazing to play. I was introduced to this game pretty late in life and I loved it the second I played it. Maybe you will too. I used to speedrun this game, so I've played through it pretty thoroughly, but the randomizer has revitalised this game. It's lets me see it in a whole new light and gives me an excuse to play it again, and isn't that wonderful? If anyone else feels like trying out the randomizer for yourself, it's completely free. It's available to download from GitHub, and there should be a link in the description if I haven't forgotten to add that. Feel free to give it a go. It's fun. Just play around, or play around with the original game. Just play this game. It's worth it, it's good, I promise. With the credits finally over, we do get somewhat of a closure on the game. We get a quick summary of all the people that we've helped throughout Monster World. We get some good news. We saw earlier that we actually teleported to the top of Purpuril, so that's good, but in Civilization. Also, we find out that the Dark Prince is not dead, which I'm sure he's quite pleased with. But this has been Wonder Boy in Monster World. I've been Artega Omega. I hope you've enjoyed this. And hopefully, though I have no idea what it will be, you'll join me for the next one. But I need to drag out what I'm saying now, because of those of you who are interested in plot. We have quite possibly the biggest shock of the entire game coming after this touching reunion. Thank you. Thank you very much. One last shot of the world so we can gauge exactly where we've just travelled over. And at long last, the twist. I'll see ya next time.